Welcome to the Maverrik podcast, business growth tips and discussions to make you the expert in demand.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Maverrik podcast. I am Luke T and today I'm joined by CEO and founder of Maverrik, Dean Seddon.
Hello, Luke.
I had to give you your full title.
Yeah, precious dear leader of the third sunrise over Plymouth.
Exactly. So we're going to be going through the Accelerator Programme. It's been a consistent program for Maverrik for lots of years now. But really this is to unpick really what it is, how people benefit, and essentially, what people really get from the Accelerator Programme. So do you want to give us a quick overview, first of all, of what the Accelerator Programme is all about?
Oh, that's like a big question, Luke. So if I kind of frame it, there's a lot of business owners who are kind of like really good at what they do, but the marketing and sales piece just feels like a chore, if difficult, frustrating. And lots of people find this, and we've done the surveys. People go, I want to get more clients. I do want to make more money in my business, but I don't want to do the sales piece. I want to try and not do that stuff. I just want to be me, do what I do, and do business well. So the Accelerator really was birthed out of that's what people want to achieve. That's not something you can do in an overnight thing. So we put it together of going, okay, you want to build an audience, you want to build that crowd of people, and maybe we'll come to this a bit later. You want to build a group of people who show interest in what you do. And so it makes the buying or the sales bit as little sales involved as possible.
So you're trying to align essentially the sales, the marketing, and the business owner side of things, because the business owner will have, all the constraints of everything, but with like under a single banner. So they have to be the marketing team, they have to be the sales team.
Yeah.
But they end up spinning plates because they, have to put all their time and effort into marketing or time and effort into sales. And it's a way of doing that, which is essentially a consistent way of doing it and generate leads and clients.
Yeah, we know, like, if your business is well known, if people know you exist, if people like you, trust you, know you, it makes sales easier. There's a reason why everybody calls something a Hoover, and it's not because that's what it's called. It's a vacuum cleaner, but the Hoover brand has become synonymous with the product. And that's the world we live in today. Now, I'm not saying in the Accelerator you can be the next Hoover brand, but what I am saying is you could have a group of people who associate you with the problems that they're facing and the solutions that they're looking for. And that might be 200 people, it might be 10 people, it might be 10,000 people. But that's what the Accelerator helps you do. It helps you not turn into a sales rep, but also not go down this crazy rabbit hole of trying to become an influencer and get 1 million views on social media, because that will get you all the clients you need, apparently.
So what is the what's the intake then? What's step one on the Accelerator?
Yeah, so the Accelerator is by its very nature, it's fast paced. So everybody comes in and we encourage people to learn at their own pace. Don't try and do too much. So what you have is a hybrid of online courses and weekly coaching, group coaching. And what we encourage people to do is set some real good goals and say, this is how many leads I want, this is how many clients I want, and then look at their offer, their audience, their message, and their system. Offer being what they're selling, audience being to whom. The message is, okay, what do I want people to know about me? What's the key messages I want people to know? And then the system of how do I take that crowd, or how do I build a little crowd that I need and take them on a journey to becoming clients?
So that journey, that process from a crowd to a client, is that something which happens from, is it a set course, or is it something which is always going to be flowing through all of the course or program?
The principles are the same, whichever channel you go on, whichever method you do, whichever industry you're in. Crowd, I've got to get visible. I've got to be seen. If I'm not seen, nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows what I'm about. Connected, that these people start to respond to you. You start to build your following. You start to get an engaged audience on your content. Core, and this is the most uncomfortable for a lot of people, because, you know, me being a Brit, I don't like it either, but I've kind of decided to live with it. The core is those people who start to get a little bit fanatical. They're what we call regulars. They're groupies. They're people who engage with you on a regular basis. They come to your webinars. They download all your stuff. They're always on your content. They're interacting with you in DMs. They are what we call your believers. Yeah, the fans, the people who have bought in terms of their commitment to you as an individual. And then the final bit is, okay, what are we going to do to actually take some of those people and make them clients? How do we get them to become clients? So that there's actually 4 stages: crowd, connected, core, client. And there's little bits you can do in each stage. Whether you're on Instagram, LinkedIn, or what have you, the principles are the same. And so what we do is we teach the principles, and then all of the support in terms of the platforms and the methods on each platforms are actually on our online platform. So you can learn how to do it on Facebook. You can learn how to do LinkedIn, Instagram, even TikTok if you wanted to. They'll all be rolled out. But for the vast majority of people that come to us at the moment, it's LinkedIn, but we cover all the platforms.
So you've got the 4-step process. Then what's stopping you going from a crowd to a client? Why would you need to have the connected? Why not go straight from, you know, having a crowd and then creating a client? I know I'm asking the dumb question, but
no, but
it's
actually no, because a lot of people don't ask that question. And the reality is you can't go from crowd to client cold. It just doesn't work. There are thousands. Look at your own inbox. Look at your own inbox. There are thousands of people every day trying to get complete strangers to go from stranger to, yeah, I'm bought in. And the reality is, even if you are successful, you send out 1,000 emails and get 2 bites, there's still the trust and the belief stage that you've got to get. You can't avoid it. The question is, which mechanism do you use? Now, if you try and push people from crowd to client in one step, like cold email, the results speak for themselves. 97% of people won't. So 97%, of which 3% say you get through. That's the current industry stat. If you email people 4 times, you'll get 3% going through to leads. So let's say you're really good at your lead conversion. That means you're going to get maybe 1.5% of all the people you email convert into customers. That's it. But you probably lost 5 or 6% in GDPR opt-outs.
Yeah.
So it's not a very successful process. And the other problem with that process of going cold from, crowd to client and doing it that way is you exhaust your data pool. Now, most small business owners wouldn't think about this, but actually, because it's so unsuccessful, if you need 100 clients, 100 clients in a year, or 10 clients, let's say 20 clients a year, you work out the maths. Let's say you can get 1.5% of everybody you email converted to a client. I would argue that's not possible, but some people would say it is. So let's go with it, 1.5%. So if you need 15 clients, I'll just do 15 clients because it's easy for maths, right? So 1% is 10. So I would need to contact more than 10,000 people 4 times in a year to get 15 clients.
That's even if, with the variables as well.
Yeah,
So
the variables of deliverability and all of those other things, it's probably less than that. But actually, the reality is it's probably something like 0.3 or 0.4% conversion when you factor everything in.
And they're all one and dones, aren't they? So what you have is essentially one message that goes out, that's it, and then it's gone. But I guess with the full message, I mean, even if they don't become connected with you straight away, they will down the line.
Whereas with the crowd to client, with this model, what you're doing is actually filtering and doing all of the kind of trust piece, relatability piece, belief piece first. So if you're growing your audience or growing your crowd on LinkedIn, say, those people are starting to buy into you from the day you start producing content. They're starting to buy in, they're starting to trust, they're starting to get to know you. And so the conversion of that process from a sales call becomes much higher because you're having to do less work. They already believe you. They already know you. They already trust you to an extent. Cold, you've got to do all of that work. And actually, that's where your sales skills become really important, because you're trying to get somebody, let's say I send out my 10,000 emails. I email 10,000 people 4 times. That's the stat, by the way. So if I get a 3% conversion, yeah, I know we're being optimistic, but 3% lead rate, and I can convert a third of them, I've got to have exceptional sales skills on that first call to build some rapport and build some trust in what could be a 30-minute conversation.
Yeah, and if you're not good on the sales side of things, you'll spend more time planning for that call, and then a lot of energy on the call and the stress of a call itself. So
Yeah,
it saves
or
you the time.
worse, I've seen some people say they dread and hope that the sales call doesn't show up because they feel so uncomfortable with the pressure of having to convince somebody to buy from you. Wouldn't it make more sense if you can get people to a point where they already believe in you, they're already engaged with you, so when they come on a call, it's not cold, you don't have any pressure on you, and you say they already know a bit about what you do, so it's not like I've just discovered you on an email, and you just be yourself. That seems to me, it's worked for me for years.
So the trade-off between time creating this system versus the sales call and the process in itself is it's a good payoff, essentially, as you're saying.
It's a massive payoff. If you think about us, Luke, this is what we've been doing for, how long you been here now? 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
We've been doing this for 5 years. And back then, 5 years ago, it was a handful of people. There's like 40 odd, 50 maybe, all doing the same thing. Was it difficult in the first year? Yes. Was it challenging finding a rhythm to it? Did it sometimes feel like nothing was happening? Yeah. But was it? We got business every month. And we got better at it and better at it and better at it and better at it. But the reality is, if you go cold, and I'm not, salespeople need to go cold. That's the way their business works. But if you're not a salesperson, if you're not that way, you're not trained that way, that you don't live for sales calls, that's not comfortable. And it doesn't get easier. That's the real important point here. When you start building like what we nickname the client engine, in other words, a system that takes people from complete strangers to fans and then convert them into clients. The first time you do it, it's tough and it's difficult, but it actually gets easier because more and more people know you and have known you for longer. So your credibility, your trust, your believability, your relatability, your offer understanding, everything's out there. And so it's easier in 2022 for me than it was in 2021, than it was in 2019, than it was in 2018. But with cold, it never gets easier. It's the same work over and 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 over again.
Because you're planting the seeds basically for months ahead and ahead and ahead, because all the effort and all the energy, all the content, all the credibility, all the social proof that you put into it, later on down the line, you say, well, I've got a call now in 1 or 2 months because someone saw what I did a month ago, and then they've kept on the system, they've kept onto it, and now we're on a call with me. Whereas if you're doing cold outreach, you're doing it every month. Like, what am I doing this month?
Yeah, every month you're making a decision to email complete strangers or DM complete strangers, writing a message that you hope will cut through the noise and you'll get something back. And every month you have to do the same thing. And if you want to scale your business, you have to do it to more people.
Exactly. So at the end of the accelerator, then, say we've built this client engine together. what happens then?
So the accelerator runs for a year, and obviously you can get various different levels of support in the accelerator. Everybody gets email and telephone support. So everybody gets that from the Maverrik team. Some people get one-to-ones with me. But what happens at the end of the year? Well, we encourage people as they join, they should have a goal and know what they want to achieve. How many clients do they need? What's the numbers? How many leads is that? And many times they don't know, but they have to put an arbitrary number on because we have to shoot for something. Month one is always the kind of month where it's like the prep, the foundations. If you're not really getting the foundations in, you're basically, the whole thing's not going to work. And what are the foundations? What are you selling? Your offer. Which audience are you going for? Because all audiences are different. CEOs and HR managers are different. Dean and Luke are different. They have different motivations, not just because we're different human beings, but because we have different roles, different responsibilities. And so we think about the world differently. So you have to pin that down. Then you have the message, which is basically developed from what I'm selling to who. Now I have a message to the world, the stuff I want to stick about me and who I am. Then it's about the system of how we're going to do it. Everybody, one man and his dog, wants to run to the system. But if you do that first, what you end up doing is you're like, I don't know how to explain this, Luke. You're like one of those dangerous people with some piece of technology that, well, I see this. I could give you a tool now that could fire out a message every 10 seconds to somebody on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is, what do you say?
It's all power and no purpose.
Yes.
You'll have everything together. It's kind of like you kick a football. You don't know where it's going, and you don't have anywhere for it to go. So where does it go? It fires out into the open.
I can remember my sister. She had a boyfriend when she was about 17, and this I think he was 18. He was a year older. 18-year-old got this sports car, right? He's only just passed his test. And he's got this souped up sports car, probably on finance, but it was like, you've got very little driving experience. I think he passed his test 3 months ago. And you're going to razz that car. And he wrote the car off. He actually wrote the car off. And a lot of people approach growing their business that way. All tools, yeah. And then forget the strategy behind it helps you keep control of that tool so that the tool is effective. And I've seen it before. We've had a couple of people come into the accelerator, go really excited about the tools. And then the tools kick in and they're going, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. We look at it and the message is wrong. Their message to the world, they're basically, all they've done is got excited about the opportunity of being able to talk to lots of people and miss the fact that the message unlocks everything.
And the tools that we use are, and anyone can kind of use them. You can say we just need a purpose for them, because it's like having the design tools that we have. If you just have a canvas, then you don't know what you're going to make. You don't have a size, shape, or purpose for it. That's what you go through in the accelerator. It's what to create. And
compared to some like online courses where it says go do this, what we've tried to do is go, let's really get you in a place where you understand the message you want to get out, and then let's go for it, not the other way around. Because I could show you, some of the tools, Luke. You could put yourself in front of, I don't know, 200,000 decision makers tomorrow, but what would you say? What would you say that would make you remember? Tell you what most people would do is they would blurt out a load of information hoping to convince people, and then nobody remembers anything. The art actually of social media, one could argue, the art of marketing really, is not saying lots of things. It's being remembered for one thing.
Yeah, I agree. So, we've gone through the process of how you deliver the accelerator course, what it's about. Why would someone need this? Or better question, why would someone not need the accelerator?
oh, why would somebody not need the accelerator? Okay. They don't need it if they're getting the clients they want. Yeah. So the clients are coming through. They're happy with the way they're coming through. They're happy with the process that's happening. They are comfortable selling. Yeah. So they're comfortable selling, and they're comfortable, and they know what they're doing on social media and email and any digital channel. If they've got those nailed, yeah, and they're happy with the revenue that's coming in, they're happy with where they're at, and they're happy with their growth trajectory, and they're happy that that's predictable, then great. But I would argue most of the people who come to the accelerator, there's uncertainty about how they're going to get clients. Perhaps they've been reliant on referrals, and they're seeing that that network isn't as fruitful as it used to be. Perhaps they're adapting to a new way of working with the changes over the last 2.5 years. Or maybe they just don't get marketing themselves. A lot of the people on the accelerator are people who really know their stuff in terms of their services, marketing consultants, social media consultants, copywriters, HR services, coaches, consultants. They know what they do, but the marketing and sales piece is just like, I want to find a more straightforward way of doing this. And the way I want to illustrate this is, and I'm rambling, sorry, Luke, is if you imagine you were the top of your game. Imagine you were the top of your game. You did various media appearances because people wanted to hear from you. And as a result of that, you just so happened, we talk about it like the television channel. You're the star of the show. Don't lose your ego, everybody watching this. You're the star of the show. You've got a level of expertise and know-how that your audience need. Your social media and your marketing channels are your television channel. And your job is to go out there, not to fake who you are, not to be somebody you're not, but to share things. And I said this in another video. You're there to help people understand knowledge and make it actionable. And you're there to help the people who find something complex make it simple. That's part of what you're doing through your television channel. And it just so happens that instead of selling advertising space in your television channel, TV commercials, the promos are actually for the services you deliver. And that's the way the world's changed. And I know that's a long way of explaining something, but you need to see yourself as a media personality who has channels, that you go to those channels, help people, let people get to know you at scale, not millions. And then from that, your TV commercial breaks are actually your promotions of how people can work with you.
So you're providing value and content, but you're not there saying, hey, now it's time for you to, and then everyone skips the 15 seconds of them talking about hair care products or a new mobile app. Instead, it's your offering, it's your service. But it's on a scale with you're not building influencers, are you?
No. And that's the mistake. People think, and we know how much it costs to build an influencer account, Luke. It's intense. The production that you have to do to create an influencer, you're talking something like 18 months to 2 years of A-game, and I mean A-game content. And at some point you reach a tipping point where that gains momentum, and you have to sustain that then, but you actually have a big audience that you can leverage and monetize. What we're talking about is actually something not as big as that, because for most people that's unachievable, because there's certain perceptions that have to be managed and all that stuff when you go to the influence level. We're talking about somebody who goes, I need a group of people. I need 15 people for the next year. 15 people would keep me very busy. 15 people would give me a record year. Okay, I need to build out my world so that those 15 people and others are in it. And I need to do very strategic things to build that crowd, get them engaged with me, connected. And I don't mean LinkedIn connected. I mean just engaged. And then turn them into fans and believers. so that then they can buy in for themselves. That's the process. And that could be with 200 people, or it could be with 2,000 people. But it's not 200,000 people. It's not 2 million people. And you can do it on LinkedIn, Instagram. TikTok's a bit tricky because the production, TikTok videos are quite tough to make. But Twitter, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah, it's just finding the right platform for you. But it's at the end of all it really, it is the value proposition, which is the important part of the message that gets put out there.
Yeah.
And it's something which we put in pretty much, if we look at our podcast and look at your show in the mornings, everything you do is pushing out that message of you don't need to be this high influencer, and you don't need to attack everyone who comes through your door to say, hey, do you want to buy X, Y, and Z?
And everything I'm doing, if you look at it, is I'm building a crowd and helping them believe in me. I know that sounds very kind of, what's the word, Luke?
As in like
egotistical.
I was gonna say like more of a preacher.
Yeah. But that's what we're doing. I mean, if you think about it, people are wandering around with problems that you can help with. You are trying to say, I'm the solution.
Yeah.
And if you go out and just tell people their solution, they won't believe you. They need to see it. They need to get to know you. A lot of people buy into our programs not because they found Maverik's website, although they do. They say, I've seen Dean on a webinar and I liked they don't say this, cut of his jib. It's a very old saying, but they said they bought into me, or they bought into you on your videos, Luke. They buy into people.
Yeah, they start
Same
to believe.
In sales.
If everyone believed in your service as much as you believed in your own service, can you imagine what you could do with that?
It'd be unreal. It'd be unstoppable. So what you do is you go, well, hang on a minute. If they buy into me, they buy into the business. If they buy into me, they understand me and how I can help them. If they get value from me and they have that need, it's going to be really easy for them to become a client. But if you think about it from a sales point of view, if you're just cold selling to complete strangers, they have to develop all of that on the journey after the first call. What we talk about is doing it before the first call.
Yep. It pretty much streamlines the process in terms of a sales call that we mentioned before, how it makes it a lot simpler and a lot less stressful. So,
if you're not comfortable doing the sales piece, you absolutely need to look at how do I build a base or a core of people who believe in what we do. And I don't mean our parents and our family. I mean complete strangers that we're going to go, these guys are really helpful. And that in itself creates referrals. But these guys are they've added value to me already. So if this is what I've got from just consuming their content, what am I going to get working with them?
Exactly. So do you have any notes for anyone who's currently on the accelerator before I sign off?
Yeah. So my if you're watching this and it's inside the accelerator, what I would say is the most important thing, if you want the magic to happen from this process, and it's not magic as in mystical, it's just when things start to align, it really flies. You've got to nail the message and the audience and the offer. And remember when I said about the offer, it's not just this is what I do, it's this is what it will do for you. And those three things, audience, offer, and message, are inextricably linked. They're tied together. Your content should be feeding it. And we used a silly example, Luke, earlier. We said, if I'm selling tomatoes, I'm not going to talk about chairs. And I know that seems really silly, but you'd be surprised how many people on LinkedIn are talking about things that don't set up the sale. They don't set the context of how you're perceived. They don't set up the value for people. So offer, audience, message, and then the systems. In other words, we're going to use LinkedIn and we're going to use this process, or we're going to use Instagram and we're going to use this process, or we're going to use email and we're going to use this process. That's what you have to do. If you do it the other way around, as much as your eagerness for a result, and I can promise you, in fact, I will promise you, if you don't do that first bit, the accelerator will fail for you. It really will. It will fail for you. because that's so important. It's not the tool, it's the message.
Fantastic. So thank you for coming on to the podcast, Dean.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. If you've enjoyed this episode of Maverrik Podcast, please subscribe to us on YouTube, click the notification bell so you'll be aware of every video that comes out, and subscribe to us on all the podcast platforms and whichever one you'll be listening to on right now. Thanks again, Dean.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.